Is Xilonen still the most overpowered support in Genshin Impact? Obviously, when she first came out, she was probably the best support at the time. Now during her first rerun, is she still that good? In this video, we're just gonna dive back through Xilonen and see whether she is still as good, or should you get her right now or not. But before we continue with that though, if we're trying to get Xilonen and some of her constellations, the best way to get Primo Gems and Genesis Crystals for that is gonna be throughout Lootbar. Lootbar is a game top-up website where you can buy different games currencies, including Genshin Impact. It's very safe and secure, and it's also cheaper than the official game stores. For example, if you click the link in the description, you go to Genshin Impact, you can pick an offer. I'm gonna pick this offer right here. In the official game store, it's gonna cost me around $50. On Lootbar, it's around $40.50. And it can be even less with other coupons and stuff like that, like the 8% discount coupon for new customers. That means I saved almost $10, which is super good. Lootbar, you can always save up to 20% and a lot of good deals. But yeah, just pick the offer, put your user ID and your region, click on top up now, and then you just pay. And then you just wait a couple of minutes and the Genesis Crystals are going to be in your game. These discounts are also going to be suitable for both PS5 and Xbox. Those are some of the latest reviews you have from Lootbar. Click the link in the description and top up now. Alright, so back to the video, starting off with what does Xilonen do that makes her super good. Xilonen is just going to be a Geo support, which is probably one of the most versatile, universal, and best supports in the game for different reasons. Her supportive capabilities are going to include a lot of things. First of all, the biggest one is that she can give you a resistance shred just from her kit, which is very rare in Genshin, like, period, and she gives you a lot of resistance shred. This is going to be a very rare buff, so her being able to just give you resistance shred by basically just equipping her and just activating her things is going to be super valuable. That's probably one of her biggest things that make her super good, is just the resistance shred. She can give you up to like 30% or more, which is just super good. The second thing is that huge amounts of damage bonus from the Cinder City set. Obviously she's from Natlan, she uses the Night Soul points, so she can just use the Cinder City set and then just give your characters a lot of damage bonus, which is super good. That's gonna fit her well as a support. So she's gonna give you huge amounts of resistance shred and then a huge amount of damage bonus. Those are gonna be top tier support stats for most of the characters in the game. This is also not where it stops. She can do a lot of other things. She can heal you, she can deal some sub DPS damage depending on what team you're going to be playing her on and stuff like this. And with Constellations that we're going to see in a little bit, she can do much more crazy stuff. So yeah, all of these combined here are, as I said before, very good supportive stats to have on a support character. Whether it's resistance shred or damage bonus and stuff like that, all of these are going to be super good. What's also super rare is to find them all on one character, which is very, very good. That's what makes Xilonen a super good top tier support character and probably the best support in the game right now still, in my opinion. Now, moving on to where you can use her more efficiently, those are going to be the teams that are going to be top tier with Xilonen on them. Her being in these teams is just going to bring them up to another level. So if you have these characters, Xilonen is going to be a super good pick to get. Usually you just want to use her with main DPSs that are hyper carries. Just a main DPS that's going to deal most of the damage themselves, or they just need support. And as long as they don't require other teammates with them, and you can fit Xilonen, just throw in Xilonen. That's pretty much it. So most DPSs in the game that are just there and just need whatever characters that's going to support them, you can just throw in Xilonen there and it's going to make them much better. You're just going to be giving them the resistance shred, the damage bonus, the healing, and a lot of other things. So yeah, the best characters who can probably use Xilonen, as I said before, hyper carry DPSs, just, you know, dedicated main DPSs. For example, the best one in my opinion that's going to fit with her is going to be Neuvillette. You know, any Neuvillette team, you're just going to be supporting them and she's just going to be giving them the resistance shred and damage bonus, which is going to be pretty good. So you can use her with like Neuvillette and then like Furina and Kazuha, and then that's it. It's just going to elevate this team much more than any other character probably you can use. You can use her with like Arlecchino, for example. She's another main DPS that's not really going to rely on her team as much. She just needs whatever supports she can get. And Xilonen in this case is going to be probably one of the best options you can put with her. You can have like Arlecchino, let's say Kazuha, Bennett, and then Xilonen. Xilonen is going to be providing the same thing, the healing, the resistance shred, and the damage bonus, and it's going to be super good. Another good type of team for Xilonen is just going to be reaction teams, especially Melt and Vaporize. The reason for that is that usually you're going to have a Hydro and Pyro dealing both Pyro and Hydro damage, and she's going to be able to buff both of the elements. Xilonen is going to be able to buff both Pyro and Hydro damages, and that's going to have super good value. She's just going to give you damage bonus to both of them and resistance shred to both of them. So any vaporized teams, for example, like a Milani team, where you can play her on a vaporized team. So let's say like Milani, Xilonen, and then Xiaoling, let's say like Furina. She's going to fit in pretty well in this type of team. Any melt team, you probably just want to go with Risley. So let's say like Risley, Xiaoling, Furina, and then Xilonen. That's going to be a very good team where Risley is a hyper carry, but Xilonen is going to be buffing both Xiaoling's and Risley's damages, which is super good. A last type of teams is going to be Geo teams. So most Geo DPSs, she can just fit in pretty well as a second Geo like character, and she can do her job as being a second Geo, but also give you huge support options for your Geo main DPS. For example, like a Navia team, you can have like Navia, Xilonen, and then let's say like Xilonen and then Bennett. This is going to be a super good team, and instead of using another Geo with Navia, you can use Xilonen as a second support and buffer, and that's going to bring up her damage by a lot. So yeah, these are going to be like the main teams you'd want to use Xilonen in, but in general, she's just going to have tremendous value just because her buffs in general are going to be pretty universal. She's not going to give you like attack buffs where when another character doesn't scale with attack, they're not really going to benefit from the buffs, or like let's say HP buffs and stuff like that. She's going to have super universal big buffs, which are resistance shred and damage bonus. Basically, any character who can deal damage, you're going to take advantage out of these. If they're dealing damage, then damage bonus is just going to increase their damage, and also if they're dealing damage, then the enemy is going to have resistance. Lowering the enemy's resistance is going to result in more damage. So she's going to be a super universal support, plus also her sub DPS capabilities, although it's kind of low, and then also her healing capabilities, which is super good and can be very useful in a lot of teams. So yeah, honestly, I do definitely recommend you going for Xilonen if you have any of the characters I listed before, and even if not, I think she's definitely a good value support for her account in general. Now, moving on to, if you have Xilonen, should you go for Constellations? Is it worth it to get more Xilonen copies or no? Should you just stop at like C0 or whatever? Well, it depends on what constellation you mean and how many constellations you're planning on going to. I'm not going to go through all of her constellations. The basic line is the best constellation for her, and probably the best constellation, or at least one of the best constellations in the game, period, is just going to be her C2. So if you're planning to go for C2, whether this rerun or anytime soon, then I would say yes, it's definitely worth it. Just go for constellations. If you have like C0 or C1, definitely try to go for C2. Or C2 is just going to provide you with huge different buffs depending on what elements the character you're using are. So it can give you like 50% damage bonus if your character is Geo, 45% attack if your character is Pyro. If they're Hydra, it's going to give you 45% HP. If they're Cryo, it's going to give you 60% crit damage, which is super good, especially with the upcoming Cryo meta. That's going to be a super good buff. And if they're Electro, she can give them more energy and decrease their elemental burst cooldown, which is super good by 6 seconds, by the way. It's a huge decrease. All these buffs are going to fit the general types of the elements very well. For example, most Pyro characters like Arlecchino, for example, are going to benefit pretty well from attack. Most Hydro characters like Neuvillette, for example, are going to benefit pretty well from HP and so on. And with the upcoming like Cryo DPSs we're probably going to see soon, they usually can just get crit rate from multiple sources, so having crit damage on them is going to be super beneficial. So yeah, her C2 is just going to be broken. If you're trying to go for C2, I'd say definitely go for it. It's one of the best constellations in the game, period. If there's any character you're trying to get constellations for, I'd say Xilonen is probably the best choice. If not, if you're just going for C1 or like you're above C2, C3, C4, even C6, I'd say just skip, honestly. It's not really necessary unless you really just want to improve her and max her out. So yeah, for constellations, is it worth it to go for them in this rerun if you already got her before? I'd say if you're going for C2, yes. Other than that, probably just no, just leave her like either C0 or C2. That's pretty much it. Now, moving on to her build pretty quickly, we're just going to revisit her build. I don't think much has changed from before, but we're going to go through it very quickly. First of all, for a weapon, you just want to use any defense sword. That's pretty much the only thing she really scales with. So you just want to go for any defense swords. Obviously, her signature is going to be pretty good. It's also going to help you with support a lot. But if you don't have it, you can use like the Flute of Espazil. You can use the Cinnabar Spindle, for example. Any defense sword is going to work pretty well on her. It's not like she needs anything. You know, just go for whatever you need. You can also go for the Favonius always as a support character. If you just want her to give orbs to your team, then that's not going to be a bad option. You also can benefit a little bit from energy recharge. So yeah, Favonius is not going to be a bad option too, but generally you just want to use a defense sword and that's it. For the artifact set, it's just Scroll of the Hero of the Cinder City. It's just no doubt about that. It's one of the things that's going to make her much better than if she didn't have it. So yeah, no other artifact sets are going to be viable in my opinion. Just farm this set. Even if you don't have the best pieces, you need to have a 4-piece set on Xilonen. For main stats, usually you just want to get either defense or energy recharge for your sands, and then just defense or your goblet, and then either healing bonus or defense on your circlet. That's pretty much the only thing you just want to go for. For substats, it's pretty much the exact same thing. You just want to go for defense and energy recharge. If you have the Favonius, obviously you just want to go for crit, and that's pretty much it. For the final stats you want to have on her, nothing is really necessary, but preferably you'd want to get like more than 1800 defense and more than around like 160 energy recharge. These are going to be good values to have for you to have decent like healing and then also decent burst uptime. That's pretty much it. But yeah, for the final conclusion, is Xilonen still a top tier character? Yes, and I do think she is still going to be a top tier character even in the future. We're probably going to see more like hyper carry, cryo DPSs coming soon, or any sort of like main DPSs. Generally, her buffs are going to be super universal and they're one of the best, so I do think she's probably one of the best supports you could pick, especially if you don't have like Kazuha or Furina already. She's definitely going to be a super good pick for your account, that's for sure. Just a very universal support. Usually you're not going to regret having these.